The history of the Dallas Cowboys can be pretty easily divided into 6 distinct eras. Don Meredith, Roger Staubach, Danny White, Troy Aikman, Tony Romo, and Dak Prescott. In the team's 59-year history, there have been a grand total of 7 seasons where these men didn't take the field at least once. 5 of those seasons came in between Troy Aikman and Tony Romo's careers. There are many good things about all of them. To this point, all of them have winning records. All of them have more touchdowns than interceptions. And when you're talking about 52 out of 59 years of a team's history, these are pretty impressive numbers. But the question always comes to mind, especially with this team, which one is the best? I'm sure most people would tell you it's Troy Aikman, 3 Super Bowls, beats everybody else. Personally, I think I would tell you it's Tony Romo. Best statistics, was the quarterback that I grew up with. I feel like that's probably a big answer for a lot of people, is who they grew up with. But if you asked me, by the end of his career, who will be number 1 on this list by a mile, I would tell you it's this guy. Now I know what you're probably thinking. When a franchise has the level of history as the Cowboys do, saying that the current quarterback, or any current player for that matter, is going to be the best at that position, it's pretty incendiary. I understand. So we're going to break this down by going through Prescott piece by piece to why I have come to this conclusion that Dak is going to be the best quarterback in the history of the Dallas Cowboys, starting from the beginning. In the 2016 NFL Draft, Dak Prescott was not the first quarterback off the board. He wasn't the second. No, Dak had to wait a little bit longer than that. He was the 8th quarterback taken in the 2016 NFL Draft. Round 4, pick 135. And it's really hard to blame Dallas for waiting so long to take quarterback this year. They thought they had their guy for at least the next several years in Tony Romo. And so Prescott's plan was, if he was ever to see the field, would be in garbage time situations when Romo had the team where it was supposed to be. That was until the final week of the preseason when Tony Romo suffered a severe back injury against the Seattle Seahawks, and Prescott was thrust into the starting role. Now, a lot of Cowboys fans were really nervous about how this would go. I remember a lot of people talking about how well could Dak hold the ship together, at least until Tony got back. And these fears were warranted after week 1 when the Cowboys lost to the Giants. But then something happened. The Cowboys won. And they won again until they had won 11 games in a row. Dak Prescott's rookie season is the stuff of legends in the NFL. He was absolutely amazing, along with a healthy dose of that to running back Ezekiel Elliott, and the team finished with a league-best record of 13-3. Now, the season didn't end the way every Cowboys fan wanted to, as Aaron Rodgers beat them in the playoffs. However, here were some things that Dak Prescott did as a rookie. Prescott tied the all-time rookie quarterback wins record with 13, tied the Cowboys' all-time wins in a season record with 13, and set the record for most passes without an interception to start a career by passing Tom Brady's mark of 162. All of this earned Prescott the 2016 Offensive Rookie of the Year award. Not bad for a 4th-round pick. Or is it? I'm sure many of you watching are familiar with the Brady Six, but if you are not, this refers to the 6 quarterbacks selected ahead of Tom Brady in the 2000 NFL Draft. Now, I don't think we'll have the same situation for the guys ahead of Dak Prescott, but for a moment, let's look at the Prescott 7. Let's divide these guys down to see who we can get to the real players from this list. Some simple questions. Are they still on an NFL roster? Oh, well, that takes out Hackenberg. Have they thrown for more touchdowns than interceptions? Oh, there goes Connor Cook and Paxton Lynch. Have they started at least 10 games in a season? See you later, Cody Kessler. And that leaves us with Carson Wentz, Jared Goff, and Jacoby Brissett. Now, Brissett did pass those original parameters, but he's really only been a backup in his career. His only season of actual extended play was when Andrew Luck was injured, and when Luck came back, he was back on the bench. So we're just going to throw Brissett out and say it's really down to these 3 guys, Wentz, Goff, and Prescott. Now, how do we rank these guys? It's hard to say. All of them have had successful careers to this point. Jared Goff got off to the slowest start of the bunch, but that was during the Jeff Fisher year, which, is it really fair to judge him for that? I don't know necessarily. But here's how Dak measures up against those guys. Prescott beats both Wentz and Goff in games played, games won, completions, completion percentage, passing yards, total touchdowns, fewest interceptions, and passer rating. I'm sure you all have reasons out there for saying that that doesn't make Prescott better than the other two. He's played more games, that is true. Wentz has been injured more, that's part of it. But I think that does play into Prescott's favor a little bit. The best availability is availability. Since he came into the league, Dak Prescott has not missed one game. Over the past couple seasons, Carson Wentz has. Jared Goff is a bit of an outlier here because it's hard to gauge where he's headed after that rough rookie season. He's improved since then, but Prescott has been consistently the best quarterback of the three. There are reasons to judge him. I don't think Dak is a perfect quarterback for certain, but versus these two peers, I think he does the best. But how does Dak do when the game is on the line? The biggest knock against Tony Romo in his career was that he was a choker. And though I don't think that reputation was fairly earned, it was what stuck with him for his entire career. So let's look at how Dak Prescott, his successor, has done in that same situation. This is a list of the top 5 quarterbacks with the most game-winning drives since 2016, when Prescott entered the NFL. Number 5 sits Case Keenum with 9. Number 4, Derek Carr, 11. Number 3 and number 2 are Matthew Stafford and Drew Brees with 13. And sitting alone at the top, at number 1 with 14 game-winning drives since 2016, is Dak Prescott. That is an impressive number to beat out all the guys I just mentioned, including some that I didn't, which it does include Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and the like. Why Prescott isn't considered among the league's most clutch quarterbacks, I don't really know. Is it because he's from the Cowboys? Is it because they don't like him as much as the other guys from his class? Is it because he's a 4th-round pick? Is it because he hasn't won the Super Bowl yet? I don't really know. But looking at those numbers, it's hard for me to say with any doubt that Prescott is definitely very good in clutch situations. 14 game-winning drives over that career is a really big number. It's almost a full season out of 3 where he's had a game-winning drive. Now, you could say some of it is on him putting the team in those situations that need it. I guess that's fair. But when you're in the clutch, it looks like Dak Prescott is going to be able to get you the win. And that is very important, especially in big division games. Winning a game against your division is about the most important thing you can do during the NFL regular season. Not only does it add a win to your win column, but it adds a loss to the column of one of the 3 teams that you're currently trying to beat out for a playoff spot, which makes Dak Prescott's record in these situations more impressive. Prescott is 13-5 against his division so far in his NFL career, 4-2 against the Giants, 4-2 against the Eagles, and 5-1 against the Washington Redskins. What makes these more impressive is that the Cowboys have almost never been out of the games they lost in these. 4 out of the 5 games they have lost in the division have all been by 1 score or less. The Philadelphia Eagles' loss in 2017 is the only one that the Cowboys trailed by more than 1 score at the end of the game. They were in every single one of them. Since losing 2 in a row in his rookie season, Dak Prescott hasn't lost to the Giants since then. If not for a snap infraction, it's very possible that Prescott is undefeated against the Redskins to this point. Prescott, if we take away the loss where he only threw 8 passes in his rookie year against the Eagles, is 4-1 against them. That's really impressive against a bunch of teams that are all trying their hardest to beat you that week. Dak Prescott almost always gives you the win there. And that's important. Getting to the playoffs is the most important thing you can do during the regular season, as I said. But how has Dak Prescott fared in the playoffs? Before we get into this proper, I want to give you 3 separate stat lines without telling you who they're for. The first stat line is this: 61.86 completion percentage, 572 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 63 completion percentage, 524 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And the final stat line: 794 yards, 64.8 completion percentage, 5 touchdowns, 2 picks. The first stat line was Tom Brady during his first Super Bowl run. The second stat line was Russell Wilson on his first Super Bowl run. And the third stat line was Dak Prescott through his 3 starts in the playoffs. Now, the big difference here is clearly that Prescott has a 1-2 record in those games, while during those stretches, Brady and Wilson both went 3-0. But I bring this up to say that Prescott has done more than enough to get his team wins in the playoffs. With the talent around them that the Cowboys seem to have, they should have been able to do better in these games than they have so far. Only having 1 win out of those is a crime against what Prescott has done. The Green Bay game is the biggest travesty, as Prescott gave him over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and still couldn't win because they couldn't keep Green Bay, a team that was not that good that year. They were playoff good, but they were not a contender, below 34 points. They should have beaten the Rams this year in the playoffs because Dak is doing enough. Your quarterback gives your team a chance to win. That is something Dak has done in every one of his playoff games so far. If the Cowboys roster can ever match his intensity and give him enough, he will win playoff games. And I do believe genuinely he will win a Super Bowl. The team has to work with him. But Prescott himself has done more than enough so far in the playoffs to warrant a championship opportunity, at least, if not a championship victory. But how has Dak performed overall since he got into the NFL? This list here shows the quarterbacks with the 5 most wins in the NFL since Dak Prescott entered the league. Pretty impressive numbers. Now let's label them. That's right, Dak Prescott is second only to the GOAT himself, Tom Brady, for wins since he entered the league. And considering that comeback number, a lot of that is on Dak's own doing. Those numbers don't lie. He's among the Russell Wilson, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, and Tom Brady. And nobody anywhere would consider him in that class of players, and I'm not entirely sure why. Is it because his body of work is the smallest? That certainly could be possible. Is it because team people genuinely don't think he's that good? At this point, I think it's irresponsible to say so. These numbers don't lie. Dak Prescott is a winner. No quarterback in the league outside of the greatest of all time has won as many games as this guy has. You can say it's all on Elliott. You can say it's because of the line. You can give any excuse you want to. But if that were true, he wouldn't be the only guy that young up here with this listing. Prescott has the it factor it takes to be a great NFL quarterback, and this shows it, I think, better than any other statistic I could show you. However, I said that he will be the next great Cowboys quarterback. So let's compare him against one of the greats of all time, Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman is widely regarded by many as the greatest quarterback in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. 3-time Super Bowl champion, 1-time Super Bowl MVP. It's pretty easy to understand why. But I'm going to say to you now something that's going to be very controversial. Dak Prescott will blow the doors off of Aikman by the end of his career, and it won't even be close. And here's some numbers to back up why I say this. We're just going to start at the most simple task of all, availability. How often are they there? In Troy Aikman's 12-year NFL career, he played all 16 games in a season twice. Dak Prescott has already done that 3 times in his first 3 seasons. He's got him beat there. In his career, Dak Prescott has thrown for double-digit interceptions 1 time with 13 in his second year. Troy Aikman threw for double-digit interceptions in 9 of his 12 seasons in the NFL. Dak Prescott has thrown for easily more touchdowns than picks every year of his career so far. In 3 times of Aikman's career, he had more interceptions than touchdowns in a season. This isn't even a cherry-picked stat from his younger years. His last year, he also had more picks, by double. He had double the picks than touchdowns in his rookie year as well. Dak Prescott has been pretty consistent in the number of touchdowns he throws in his career, with 23, 22, and 22. Aikman threw for 20 or more touchdowns 1 time in his NFL career, with 23 in 1992. This year he also threw 14 picks, more than Dak has thrown in any single season. Dak Prescott's career low for passing yards in a season is 3,324. Troy Aikman's career high for passing yards in a season is 3,445. That is the only year of his career where he beats Dak Prescott in passing touchdowns or yards. The rest of his career, Troy generally gets the win, you could say maybe in completion percentage, as he put up an otherworldly 69.1 completion percentage in 1993. However, Dak Prescott's career completion percentage average is 66.1. That 1993 season is the only time in Aikman's career he beat that average. This is not meant to disparage Troy Aikman. He is a great Hall of Fame quarterback for a reason. However, Dak Prescott, statistically, by almost any measure, will thoroughly annihilate Aikman's passing stats by the end of his career. And if he adds even 1 championship ring, you would have to be the biggest homer for Aikman himself in the history of football to think he's better. Also in the clutch, Troy Aikman in his career had 20 game-winning drives. 3 seasons in, Dak Prescott has 14. In the clutch, he's already catching up to Aikman at a very high rate. Now, I love Troy Aikman, alright? I don't hate Troy Aikman at all. But Dak Prescott is the guy, and it seems pretty clear to me that pretty soon he's going to be the guy in Dallas for all time, at least over number 8. But what about Dak versus number 9? Tony Romo, the Dallas Cowboys quarterback through the early part of my childhood and the best announcer in the NFL currently. This man took so much undue criticism during his NFL career, it's absurd. He was a very good, elite quality quarterback for a large part of his career and doesn't get the respect he deserves for it because of some very poorly timed mishaps. But let's see how he compares to the Cowboys fans' current hatred, Dak Prescott. Prescott beats Romo in passing yards by 314, 10,876 to 10,562. Romo holds the edge in passing touchdowns, 81 to 67, but Prescott holds a massive edge in interceptions, with 21 fewer picks than Romo threw his first 3 seasons. Prescott also has a higher completion percentage, 66.1 to 63.6, on 168 more passes, meaning even in a higher volume, he's been more accurate than Tony. Tony did have a slight, less than full yard edge in yards per attempt, but Prescott had a 1.4 edge in quarterback rating. Where Dak Prescott really shines is how badly he annihilates Romo in the rushing stats. Prescott had over 700 more rushing yards and 16 more rushing touchdowns than Tony Romo did during his first 3 seasons. Now, you probably want to hear bring up his fumbling problem, how often Dak seemed to fumble the ball. Well, if you remember Turnley's early years, it's pretty similar. Romo fumbled the ball 32 times in his first 3 seasons, whereas Dak fumbled at 25. Romo did lose 1 fewer of those fumbles than Dak Prescott did, which does play to Dak's ability to recover on those, but it's still very close. Overall, total yards favors Prescott by 1,000, touchdowns by 2, turnovers with 20 fewer, 2 more wins, same amount of playoff berths, but unlike Romo, Dak did get a win in his first 2 playoff appearances. So, what does this tell us? You can let it tell it what you say it does, but Prescott's numbers as a passer are very similar to Tony Romo's, if not a little bit better in the turnover department, and he's obviously miles better as a runner. Does this mean that Dak will be better than Tony? I think he will be. I don't know if these numbers are what says that. I think everything throughout this video has certainly led to that conclusion, but I think it's fair to say that Dak Prescott is on a path to beat Tony Romo if he stays healthy, something that Tony unfortunately never could. So, what is the takeaway from all of this? Well, it's that Dak Prescott, the 135th overall pick of the 2016 NFL Draft, the 8th quarterback off of the board, has gone on to have one of the best starts a rookie quarterback has ever seen, has outdone both his predecessor and the champion before him, has won more games than anybody not named Tom Brady, has come back in the 4th quarter more than anybody in the league since he came into the league, and has his team with at least 1 playoff win through his first 3 seasons. That's pretty impressive to me. And so if you ask me today who the best young quarterback in the NFL is, I would tell you it's Patrick Mahomes. However, if you told me when it's all said and done who I think the best quarterback in the NFL will be, gotta go with number 4.